All right, good morning. Got to go on the road for the first time with this team. Looking forward to the challenge, playing a much different looking Temple team this week, coached by Coach Keeler, as I talked about after the game. Again, one of the more successful coaches in the history of FCS, the only coach to win 2 national championships at 2 different places. They do a fantastic job, just really looking at the last several years, their success, and certainly that's carried over into their first couple of games, their ability to execute at a really high level, offensively and defensively, just giving up under 10 points a game on defense and averaging close to 50 points a game on offense. They've done a remarkable job in a very short window over the last several months since they got on the campus. They got great balance in their offense, averaging 260 yards rushing a game, 255 passing. They've passed for 10 touchdowns and rushed for 3. They've outgained their 2 opponents by 600 yards. So regardless of who their opponents have, that they've played here, they've completely gotten after them. They're third in the country in pass efficiency, 71% conversion rate on third downs, and 9 out of 9 in the red zone. They've spread the ball around as they've, thrown the ball, and they haven't allowed any points in the second half of any of their first 2 ball games. So, great opportunity for our guys to, again, go on the road, be tested in an unfamiliar environment. We're going to have to play well on the road. It's an early morning kick, so everything, as I told the team yesterday, the schedule for the week is, completely changed from what they've been comfortable with here these last couple of weeks, and those things matter. So we got to do a great job from a mental standpoint. Got to get our work in from a physical standpoint, but the mental standpoint, what that looks like, the focus and the maturity to be able to go on the road and, play to our ability. So look forward to that challenge.
Okay, we'll start on the far right side, Barry Trammell.
Yeah, Hawkins, do you have a plan for Michael in terms of when you want to play him, in what situations? I know you'd probably like to redshirt him, but you still have 4 games. Do you have some sort of broad plan for Michael?
Yeah, you'd like to think that you can control that, and we certainly could, but we might pigeonhole ourselves too. And so, we're preparing him every single week like he's a guy that's got to go in and take 70 or 80 snaps, and until our hands forced, we're not at any liberty to be able to, hey, let's just get him in for a few series here. And so trying to be thinking both short-term and long-term, would hate to, burn his year unnecessarily. So, I think the course of the season will kind of work itself out. But we're going to be very mindful of not burning his year, before we have to.
Brent, John's ability to run has come to the forefront. Quarterbacks run differently. Some are speedy. Some want to run over guys. Mm-hmm. Looks like he's got the vision of a running back, really. And I'm sure you've seen that against your defense in practice. What kind of challenge does that present a defense when you've got a quarterback who's not just fast, not just able to run over guys, but can make some moves out there?
Yeah, no, he's a real weapon, in running the ball. And he does. To your point, he has really good instincts as a runner, great lateral quickness and the ability to change direction. He's an explosive runner and very efficient. And I think he's got to do a good job of, not taking, too many shots. And that kind of goes with the territory. He's built strong and he's really, compact, and so he can absorb some big hits. But it's a real weapon and keeps defenses in a really tough predicament because he can, throw the ball, with great ability as well.
Brent, John was telling us after the game the other night that you talked to the team about the 23 Texas game and how they didn't get over that fast enough. What do you feel like you learned?
Yeah. Well, again, it didn't have as much at Texas. We were 7-0. Texas happened to be the last one. And again, I got perspective. Again, we lost the next 2 games by 1 score, both on the road, and we turned the ball over 6 times. A recipe, regardless of of how the rest of the team plays, you turn the ball over, you're going to lose most of the time. And one of them was a pick 6 on the first drive of the game on the road at Kansas, and then we lost our bowl game, with a first-time starting quarterback. We turned the ball over 6 times and gave up 2 more defensive touchdowns. So I have that perspective. That's not always indicative of the rest of the team didn't handle 7-0 well either. It's hard to overcome those mistakes and against anybody that has a pulse. So, there's a balance, with all of it, and it's just handling success. It's staying hungry, staying motivated, staying detailed, staying committed to a process and how you play well. And I've always felt like it's harder to manage a team that's doing really well as opposed to a team that doesn't think much of themselves. So this is kind of right on cue from what we've tried to prepare, the team for. And when you come out here and you beat Michigan, then everybody's they want to interview you. They're going to talk Heisman. They're going to talk, best defense ever, all of these things that come with that. And you got to be able to, you block out the noise before, you got to block it out now. And not an easy thing to do because everybody, I think human nature is people enjoy somebody saying nice things about them. And so doesn't help us win, doesn't help us in our process and how we got to start completely over, learn new DNA, and, do the things that winning requires and success requires. And that's go right back to work and focus on what's in front of us. And so, I do feel like it resonated. The test of time will tell. Mm-hmm.
Colton? Brent, you guys have put such a big emphasis on special teams coming into this year. What did you see from some of those miscues on Saturday, and how can you correct those miscues?
Yeah, I mean, we got to, first of all, on the roughing the punter, and again, just we showed him all of our drill work. Immediately, Doug had pulled up, Sammy with his drill work. We didn't do that in our drill work. You finish in front of the punter, you take it off his foot. If you're late, man, you got to buzz by to his outside, and if you're right on time from an alignment standpoint, from taking the edge of the shield, trimming the fat and coming nice and tight, man, then you finish in front of the punter. And so we just went back and really just kind of intercut it and showed him, look, you did it right in practice. You got to take it to game day. And then again, Isaiah, he's been pretty good so far, and then just go back to the basics of catching the ball and getting people out of the way and some of the communication things. We got to be better there. Punter was fantastic. Our coverage teams on kickoff and punt team were elite. Protection was good on punt team. Gave up some leakage on our field goal. Bill pulled up the 2015 playoff game against Georgia in double overtime where we had a field goal blocked that kept us out of the national championship. And he talked the team through that yesterday and the real why it's so important. The basics are what win for you. The basics are also how you get beat. It's the little things, never the big things. It's always the little things. And so it's trimming the fat on the punt block with Sammy. It's doing the right things in the field goal protection, not putting 2 hands down on the inside gap. It's one-on-one. And so you just go back over, you use these moments to teach. We're fortunate. We won the game having made a handful of those mistakes. But there's good and bad in all of it. And, now this is an opportunity to get some things on film that you can coach from and show them how you lose a game, and when it matters most.
Yeah, Brent, going back to Jeannie's question about John and his ability to run, wondering when you were going through offensive coordinator candidates and watching film last year, how much did it intrigue you how much they did use the quarterback run game, John's ability and all of that, and how that maybe opens up a playbook for an offense when the quarterback can run like that?
I just think about college football. You think about the NFL. Everybody does it. So I don't think it's unique to Ben. And if you have a guy back there that can't run, then you don't force a square peg through a round circle. But you look at every really good offense, and that's what they're doing. So whether it's what they're doing in Washington in the NFL, or they're with the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens or the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles that just won the Super Bowl, or you think about, just go down the list of the last several national championships or in college football, or whether it's Cam Newton or it was, Florida with Tim Tebow. I think there's a formula. You're going to play really good defenses, and so how can you get a +1 and have the trump card, if you will. So was that did I see that on film? Yeah, we saw that. But I do think that most modern offenses are doing it to some degree. And when you got a capable runner back there, you're willing to do that. There's always a risk involved, as well. And you got to be prepared to live with that too. Mm-hmm.
Brent, wanted to ask you about Peyton Bowen. I know he dealt with some injuries, some lingering stuff the first couple years,
Mm-hmm.
but he played every snap against Michigan. Seemed like the consistency's there. Just how important have these first couple weeks been for him, just having a baseline, being out there, being consistent?
Yeah, starting in the summer, he was really started to amp things up, getting back into the flow of things. We kind of shelved him. The turf toe that he had, it's a very aggravating kind of injury that just is hard to go away unless you just completely get off of it. And he really responded well. I think that he recognizes he's had a great humility and a maturity about him, maybe more so. He's always been humble, but more so, I think he showed up with more of a purpose, like, all right, man, I'm running out of time. And he felt really good for the first time. I think he'd be the first one to tell you. And the game has slowed down tremendously for Peyton. And he's more and more comfortable from a leadership and a communication standpoint. He's able to see things from a different lens just by going on year 3. And then I think maybe also being injured the last couple of years just with some nagging. He had an ankle, foot, and then the toe. I think has created a different sense of purpose for him too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, we heard all last week, biggest recruiting weekend since you've been the head coach here. What was that balancing act of making sure you had the right product to go on the field Saturday night, but also trying to build the bond relationship with all the kids that were coming in?
Well, we have a really deep staff. I think our front office staff, our recruiting staff, led by Jolie Ali, and then our full-time coaches as well played a part in that. Our committed prospects for the 2026 class also played a part, in hosting and recruiting as well. It's the best asset that you have are your players, that are either committed or, in the locker room. And then our guys are just our guys in our locker room, and they do a really good job. They care about Oklahoma. They care about, who comes into that locker room, and they know that if we're going to continue to be successful, then it's going to take all of us. And so they do a wonderful job. So it was good. I met with several guys before the game, and there's a balance there. Nothing is more important than winning. And so I thought, several of our coaches came over. They were here early, on Saturday. While there was a few of us that stayed back at the hotel with the team doing walkthroughs and meetings, things like that. And then Sunday was pretty busy, with several of the guys either still here, leaving, on Sunday, kind of closing that out.
Grayson Miller, I know you already talked about how great he was and how special teams overall, but just what do you think of his journey? He was playing soccer at a small school a few years ago, and now he's delivering big kicks for Oklahoma.
Yeah, so between Kanik being a quarterback and a linebacker in his past, and Owen Heineke playing lacrosse, and Grayson being a soccer player, that's pretty cool. It's a neat story. The moment wasn't too big for him. Had a fantastic week. It's been a little sporadic since he's been on campus, and I really felt like if he was sporadic like he's been at times, it might work out to our favor because it didn't make sense. You know, he's supposed to pin him in the corner, and that ball goes up to the other numbers. It never ended up working out that way on Saturday. But, man, he was ready for the moment. He's got a great disposition for him. He's really competitive, got a lot of juice and energy, and it was huge. You know, all 4 of the punts that he punted were huge in that game, just from a field position standpoint. Did a fantastic job. So pretty cool, great testimony, you know, for everybody to learn from, and being ready for your opportunity despite maybe some discouragement, you know, with not having the success or the opportunity that maybe you felt like you wanted, and but you know, not losing your focus and being ready. We had a Jacob Ulrich with a slight hamstring issue, and so that punter is in no position to we really want to mess with that. And Grayson did a great job.
Brent, being the head coach, keeping tabs on everything. How do you feel about your quarterback running it 19 times a game? And is that also something where, you know, your running game with your running backs just needs to be a little bit better too?
Yeah, no, again, how do I feel about it? I thought he did great. And, again, is that what you want every single week from your quarterback? Probably not. I don't think that's good, you know, for his health long term, but you're playing against really good people. You have to be willing to do that. And, you know, what the byproduct of being willing to do that, you know, on first down, let alone third or fourth down, is that you're going to attract more people down into the box and create more opportunity of throwing the ball. You know, so I don't necessarily think it has as much to do with what you can or can't do, you know, running the ball with the tailbacks. But it makes things a little more difficult and challenging, you know, for the defense. And again, been on a whole heck of a lot of really explosive offenses that had the ability to run with the tailback and still were committed to running with the quarterback too. It's just it creates a whole nother set of problems.
Second row aisle, Davis Cordova. Yeah, Brent. I know you talked about how good Jaren's been
Switching over to tight end, but I just want to know, was there a learning curve for him over the spring and summer?
Yeah, no doubt. He had a lot to learn, and I think that's why he was in the building every day. He studied certainly what systematically we were doing in this system and what he needed to learn and how he could get better mentally. But he also studied, you know, the best tight ends in college and the NFL too. He'd be the best to ask about, you know, what all the intimate details of what that looked like. But and he'd be the first one to tell you, you know, he's still learning and still improving. And I think you saw week 1 to week 2 just made some incremental improvement. And I guess there's a stat here. He's doing pretty good, just 2 games in. But he's like leading the SEC and maybe second in the country in receptions and yards or whatever. So, what's that? Total offense. So, he's been doing pretty good, and got a long ways to go. And nobody's handing out any badges for him yet, but he's been doing really good, and it's come from a lot of hard work. He's a very talented athlete, but his best qualities are just his sheer will and belief in himself. And he's a good weapon, you know, with the ball in his hands. He's got good quickness. He's got good speed. He's got good natural strength as well, and always finds a way to fall forward.
Brent, following up on that, who are some guys from your past who have made the transition from one side of the ball to another who have had success?
Yeah. I look at a guy like me, just thinking about guys here at Oklahoma. Jamal Brown was the number 1 D tackle in the country, and played it on defense, probably like Stone did, you know, under 100 snaps as a true freshman. He was big and strong, but he was a little stiff, had a hard time bending. And he moved over after his freshman year and won Lombardi and 2-time All-American, first-round draft pick. Andre Wofolk went from receiver to corner and became a first-round corner. Isaiah Simmons recruited. He was out of high school. He was a high school receiver, and we moved him to safety, and then ended up moving to linebacker, and he ended up winning the Butkus Award. A lot of people recruited Dusty Dvorak as an offensive guard, and he played a little bit of both in high school. I don't know, doesn't really constitute moving. Derek Strait was a high school quarterback, played no defense, and he ended up winning the Thorpe Award after a red shirt his freshman year. But I'm sure there are several other guys. Dan Cody was a quarterback and a kicker. Played a little bit of a linebacker, stand-up linebacker, and ended up winning the Ted Hendricks Award as the best defensive end in college. But so anyway, there's a few guys. I'm sure our own roster's probably got a few more. But those are guys that come to mind. Mm-hmm.
Brent, after, I've covered you a long time, so I know you're never satisfied on defense. But what do you think of your defense after 2 games? What do you think you have?
Well, I think they've, answered the challenge of the first 2 weeks of the season, and that's it. Every opponent's a little bit different. What I've appreciated, the volume of work that this defense has committed to, both what's required and then what's not required. And as I've said many times, what's required is never enough. And these guys have been willing to do more than what's required over a long period of time. And now the challenge of the season is, okay, you've had a little success, your willingness to go right back at it. And with the same passion, with the same detail, with the same energy, with the same hunger, with the same toughness. If you don't, then you'll be one of those few teams, because we're not good enough just to show up and not do what's required. Most people aren't, and you'll get exposed quickly. So whether that's you saw it last weekend in college football. Army goes into K-State. South Florida goes into the Swamp. Troy goes into Clemson at 16-0, and Clemson end up winning that game. Obviously, Arizona State goes on the road, and Mississippi State beats a playoff team in Arizona State, and so this game's too hard. I've appreciated the maturity and the leadership of our group. They're saying all the right things, and so far so good. I think that they are humble, they're driven, they're not satisfied. They got long-term vision of what they want to accomplish, and I don't think they have their head in the sand. They value the success has come from the work. The confidence that they have has come from the work. And again, as I said, there's a lot of the guys. We have 7 on defense. That this is year 4, so they've been through some pain. And when you've gone through what they've gone through, I don't think you walk the same. And I think that they've grown and matured through, that process. And so, as I said, pain is the world's greatest adhesive. It brings people together when you go through that together. And so I think the byproduct is playing together, playing well together, complementing each other, and know that every week's going to present a new set of challenges. The style of play, the types of passes, the types of runs, the philosophy on third down. It's different this week, and so how do you put together a game plan that you execute at a high level? If we put it in the game plan, the expectation is that we execute it at a very, very high level. And but to play this game at a high level, you have to emotionally and physically invest in the week, and it's a race against the clock. There's a comfort level with Illinois State. There's a comfort level to a certain degree with Michigan because we had an out of season, to spend a lot of time, on the first, few opponents, and then you're always working on yourself. What you put on tape a year ago that wasn't good. Professional courtesy is most people are going to put it in the game plan. If you show that these are issues that you had a year ago. And so we've worked relentlessly at anticipating that and getting better, incrementally, being better in all the efficiencies, the fundamentals, the physicality, playing great team defense. And so the challenges are going to be different every single week. And like I said, to start things, this is going on the road. Everything's new. You don't have the same comfort of going right out here to the Marriott, on Highway 9, being 2 miles away and having everybody happy to see you. And so, it takes a different type of mindset no matter, what your opponent is or where you got to go. It's just a little bit unfamiliar. So we got to do a better job, when it comes to those things too. And but I know, again, just watching the guys last night, listening to them in the team meeting, I think these guys, they do see that. And now we have to sustain that. But I love the guys playing with passion and energy and, pointing and running when guys are making plays. Man, they're running to their teammates. That's infectious too.
Coach, I wanted to kind of maybe piggyback a little bit off of that and talk about a specific aspect of your defense, and that's sudden change situations where the defense has to come in after a mistake by the offense or special teams. You guys have 4 turnovers this season, and on the series following those 4 turnovers, y'all have given up 39 yards, 1 first down, and 6 points. Points coming off of field goals in short field situations. Minus that 23-yard run, first play of the first turnover, 14 plays, 16 yards, no first downs. Even after the roughing penalty against Michigan, you gave up some yards, both up in the red zone. Didn't allow any points, they missed a field goal. Teams don't always respond well to those situations. A lot of times those situations can break you. What does it mean to you, and what does it say about your guys' mentality that they consistently respond in those situations?
Yeah, no, I think we have a bunch of tough guys. I mean, you don't do what you just said, have that type of result without having, great mental toughness. And so we got tough guys. Our coaches, they coach the players tough. We talk about, the choppy waters, the headwinds, the adversity of game day, people punching back. You find truly about a player, a unit, a staff, whoever, in moments where there's real challenge, not when everything's going great. It's, and that's the challenge. We talk about that every single day and we try to create a lot of pressure on the practice field every single day. I believe that you can do that. I think that's important that you do that. Push guys to their limits. They have to be willing. The really good players take themselves to that uncomfortable space. They recognize the value of doing that and physically and mentally pushing themselves. And so I think that's a testament to, the heart and soul of, these players to continually to do that, and the coaches that have, develop that trait as well. I think you can recruit it, and I think you nurture it, and then you practice it, often.
Time for one more back to the left side, Jake.
Coach, you talked about Owen last week, his desire, his determination to make an impression and to get some playing time. Had to be fun on Saturday to watch some of that come to fruition, all the hard work and determination he's put in.
Yeah, that's to me what it's all about, and I think another byproduct of that is some other guys that maybe have been fighting for an opportunity, and I think it lends credibility for them to keep swinging, keep working, keep being prepared. It's great. Owen is a well-respected. He's a really good leader. He's made the most of his opportunity. I think he's shown that he's a really good athlete, got great instincts. He plays wide open. He's got tremendous endurance. He understands how he fits into his role and everybody around him. That's why he plays aggressive, because he knows I got to come under that block because the safety's outside of me. So he can shoot his gun in a really fast, explosive way, taking away, reducing pad surface and things like that. He knows within the system, that's where I fit. And so he looks extra that and he looks like he knows what play's coming. But I think that's the confidence of knowing the system and what everybody else is doing, not just his job. And we meet as a back seven every single day to try to get guys like him to play that fast. So it's not centered on just linebacker position and what you're supposed to do. It's the why. It's what everybody else around you is doing. And so collectively, I think you're seeing more and more guys like Owen that are playing in a fast, sure kind of way. And but really proud of him not giving up on himself and not giving up on his opportunity. As I said, I kept throwing him out of practice, like, man, literally, get the hell out. I just told you. And shame on me. But give credit to him. He's the one that's put all the work in and continued to keep showing up, even if he didn't have the same opportunity that he's experiencing, right now. That can get, I'm sure, discouraging for a lot of people. And, his family support him. His Uncle Corey has supported him. And what a great testament. He's good soil. He's good bamboo in the law of the bamboo tree, right? That you just keep watering the bamboo, and eventually, if you got the right soil, you got the right stuff, that, man, you have the kind of moment that he's having right now. All right, you got it. Thank you.